Hey you guys, it's your girl T. So it's time for a recap of Real Housewives of Atlanta. This Sunday was crazy as hell. It took me through a lot of emotions. So let's go ahead and get this recap started, okay? How you doing? So anyways, in the opening scene, we pick up right where we left off. And we leave off with Cynthia and Nene and them having their discussion about their friendship and where everything went wrong. And Nene breaks down and she starts crying. The other girls are surprised. They all get up and leave from the dinner table because they want to give Cynthia and Nene their privacy. So Nene's just playing crazy. She's saying that she has no idea where it went wrong. That Cynthia, just changed on her during the reunion. She thought everything was cool. And Cynthia's like, well, no, you're not giving me a chance to talk. It's not that. She said, after I looked at everything, even regardless of social media, I feel like the final straw was when you called my husband a bitch. And even though we were cool, after that and we talked about it, she was honest. She said she still felt a certain way. So my thing is this, a lot of people want to give Nene all types of praises and props and, they want to forget everything that Nene did. But before you guys jump on the Nene Leakes bandwagon, it seems like people forget the things that have happened over the season. And because I recap, I don't forget a lot of shit. But to me, Nene was always a bad friend to everybody. And to me, she loves to talk about friendship and she loves to talk about friends. Nene has lost several friends throughout this show. So to me, the common denominator is Nene. She got into it with Sheree. Her and Sheree fell off. Her and Kim fell off several times. Her and Marlo fell off. She doesn't like Kenya for no other reason. And then the whole situation with her and Cynthia. I feel like Nene's one of those people, she does not like to take ownership of where she was wrong. And regardless of the situation, it was not okay. Regardless of people think that Peter is messy, it was not okay for Nene to call him a bitch. And Peter was being very, very real with Nene when he said what he said to her at Kenya's function. Because people forget that Nene came in there with a nasty attitude. Nene came in there acting funny, showboating, being rude to everybody. And Peter was being a true friend to Nene, letting Nene know that her behavior was not cool. No matter what she felt about Kenya, she needed to come off as professional because this was a charity. So Peter was not wrong in that instant. So it seems like people are just so quick and ready to forgive Nene and act like Cynthia is crazy. And to me, it kind of bothered me because I felt like Cynthia talked a lot of shit in her confessionals and around her husband, her sister. But now when it comes to her telling Nene exactly how she feels and how Nene has hurt her over the seasons, it's like Cynthia clammed up. But I understand that that's Cynthia's real demeanor. This tough girl act is just an act for Cynthia. Cynthia's a really, really sweet person. Yes, she can be flip-floppy, but Cynthia is somebody who does not know how to handle confrontation. Nene has a very strong personality where she can almost shame you into forgetting why you're even mad at her. And I think that that's what happened. So to me, they really didn't resolve anything. It was almost like Cynthia just kind of backed down and just wanted to be water under the bridge just to save face and just for there to be peace. And Nene just wants to make herself look good. Like, yeah, I punked her into basically, backing down into making her look good again. Because if you guys remember, people hated Nene Leakes last season. But now all of a sudden folks are jumping back on that Nene Leakes bandwagon, and I'm not buying none of that shit. I'm not buying it. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Nene and Greg, and basically Nene's talking to Greg about everything that went down at the restaurant the other night and how her and Cynthia, they basically kind of made up. And then what is funny is that Bravo's doing like a side-by-side. So they're having Cynthia discussing it with Peter as well. So Cynthia comes downstairs and she's just cheesing and grinning. And Peter's like, what you so happy about? What's going on? And Cynthia's like, you know what? I think me and Nene kind of made up. And Peter's looking at her like, you're stupid. You're dumb as hell. Why are you making up with somebody who made our lives so miserable, who put you through everything? You're coming off as weak. And a lot of folks were mad at Peter and were like, you know what? Peter's being messy again. Once again, he's being Patricia. And I felt like, you know what? Peter was kind of being messy and Peter always had something to say. Like I said, Peter needs a damn peach and he needs to be in the opening credits because Peter stays running his mouth. Now, when you go back to when Greg and Nene are talking, Greg is more silent. He's more just listening. He's just being, Nene's little lapdog. But in the confessional, it's very telling. That's what a lot of people weren't realizing. In the confessional, Nene's throwing a lot of shots once again at Cynthia and at Peter. And she's saying that Peter was taking to social media and Peter was talking a lot of shit. To me, that's the pot calling the kettle black. Because Nene did the same thing to Cynthia and Peter. She was talking shit on social media. She was talking shit on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. So she was throwing just as many daggers as they were. So I don't think she's as innocent in this at all. I can understand where Peter's coming from, where he feels like, you know what, Cynthia, don't just let her off the hook like that. You need to, you know, make sure she understands what she did to you before you just welcome her back with open arms. I understand that, but what I did not respect was how they were trying to blame Nene for everything that went on in their marriage. Because Peter made a comment that, you know, everything's so much better now that Nene hasn't been around for the past 6 months. And then Cynthia says even the sex is better. So I'm looking at her like, bitch, really? So Nene had something to do with y'all's sex life? I thought you had fibroids, and I thought he just had a shitty attitude, but now all of a sudden Nene dictate when you guys had sex or not. So I feel like they put too much on Nene's shoulders. If you guys are having issues in your marriage, there are 2 people in that marriage, and their names are Cynthia and Peter, not Nene and anybody else. So if there's issues in that marriage, it's up to those 2 people to figure it out. So them trying to blame Nene and shift the blame on Nene, I call bullshit. But with that being said, I do feel like Peter sees how much of an effort it is and how much energy it takes to be Nene's friend and how much you got to put up with being Nene's friend. We've all seen this over the past few seasons. So I think that's also why Peter is really wary of Cynthia getting back in good with Nene and being cool with her, because he doesn't want to see his wife get hurt again. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene we have Phaedra, and she's meeting with Derek J. And once again I see that Derek J is still stuffing them big ass cow hooves into some tiny ass Manolo Blahniks. When I tell you that damn foot looked like a hoof in that little ass shoe, I'm gonna need Derek J to just stop. He needs to get some sneakers and have several damn seats. So anyways, Derek J is upset. He feels like, you know what, it's not cool. People are trying to come for me. Somebody's trying to sue me for stealing her hair weave. She claims that we basically washed her hair, took her weave, and then we put in some cheap weave. And Phaedra's like, oh, they're accusing you of being the weave burglar. So that whole scene was just a damn mess. So basically Derek J has to go to court to go defend himself because this woman's basically running to the blogs and ruining his reputation. And Phaedra said that she would take on the case for Derek J because, you know, they're good friends and she's more than willing to do that. She's not going to let her business as a lawyer and as a mortician, now her other side gigs, follow the wayside because of Apollo. So I respect the fact that she is trying to go back and do her lawyer thing, but it's funny that she's taking on such a stupid case as opposed to taking a real big case. We can really see her skills as a lawyer. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene we have Todd and Kandi, and Todd is basically FaceTime with Kandi. He just left LA and he's in New York and he's getting ready to go see his mom. And Candy's sitting there with her Miss Tucker t-shirt and she's like, you know, I look good, and you know, she's all boosted, and Todd's like, well, yeah, it looks nice on you, but it'd be nice if you changed your last name. Oop, she wasn't expecting that one, now was she? So Todd is saying that he wants Kandi to come and visit him in New York because he feels like his mother is still very upset about everything that Mama Joy said about her during the wedding and during last season, and that they need to get everything squashed. Kandi immediately gets on the defense. She starts rolling her eyes. She starts getting an attitude. And it's just like, damn, when I seen her do that to him, I felt like I was looking at Riley, because Riley behaves the same way. She has a real flippant mouth. You know, she rolls her eyes a lot. And she comes off as very rude. It's like 3 generations of just rude ass females. You know, Todd is telling you how he feels. He's telling you how his mother feels. And you're brushing it off and you're dismissing it as if it's no big deal. So that kind of turned me off with Kandi, that whole conversation. And you can tell that it irritated Todd as well. But Kandi agreed to go to New York and go see Todd. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene we have Cynthia. So Cynthia is also traveling to New York. She wants to rip the runway for her friend Keith Brewster. So Keith Brewster decides to let Cynthia close his show. And so he goes to measure her and her booty is out of control. He's like, Cynthia, I don't know what happened to you. I don't know if you got, you know, some injections, but your butt is huge. And Cynthia's like, no, I don't know. Maybe I just been eating, you know, in Atlanta I'm considered small, but in New York I'm definitely considered curvy. And you can tell something's going on with her booty. People have been speculating all season because Cynthia did not have that much junk in the trunk these past few seasons. She's always had a nice shape, but you know, her butt has never been that high and round and that damn, you know, out there. So it was just really funny. So you could tell she kind of felt insecure because all the other girls, they had slim model shapes, they could walk. So her friend Keith is telling her, you know, go ahead and try on the dress and then let's see you walk. So Cynthia comes out there walking in the black dress, and of course she looks beautiful, but her walk is stiff, slow, and awkward. And Keith is like, you know what, you can't close the show like that because you're going to bore the audience. You have to step it up. We walk fast in New York now, honey. It's 2014. It is not 1992. You know what I mean? It's a new era. These new girls walk fast and they, you know, they serve on the runway. So then he asks one of the little young girls to walk down the runway and show Cynthia. So she gets up there. When I tell you, oh girl did her thing, she was ripping that damn walkway. Like, yeah, bitch. Call Me Cynthia Bailey 2014. So Cynthia's looking at her like, okay, I can do it. I got this. Okay, I'm not gonna let you down. Just wait until the show. You know, I am Cynthia Bailey. I do own the Bailey School and I can walk. So okay. Anyways, moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene we have Todd and Kandi, and this scene is kind of funny because now she's in New York and Todd is basically showing her his stomping grounds where he grew up, his old apartment, his whole neighborhood in the Bronx, and he's seen a lot of people from BET because he used to work at BET. So he's seen a lot of folks that he knows. And Kandi's kind of acting a little bit bougie and southern. She's like, and I've been in New York before, but I never hung out in the hood. And, you know, I guess I'm going to change my Giuseppe shoes for some Timberlands. So they go and get Timberlands. They go and get New York pizza. And it just amazes me at how shocked she is by everything and how everything is just new to her and how her and Todd never shared this experience before. So it made me think watching that y'all really didn't know each other when y'all got married, because how is this just now Kandi's first time going to New York and being introduced to that side of Todd? So, I mean, that kind of confused me because I'm like, you guys have been dating for almost 2 years, but this is your first time going to the Bronx and spending time with him and seeing where he grew up and finding out more about Todd. So that kind of made me get that the side eye. It's almost like you guys just kind of rushed this wedding and rushed this relationship just because you're just so desperate to get into a relationship. But now they're kind of working backwards trying to find out who each other really is. So I kind of find that whole dynamic of him showing her around New York really funny, because I'm like, this should have been done way before the wedding and way before everything else that went down. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene we have Claudia, Jordan, and Kenya, and basically they're taking some type of cooking class. They have this chef, he's making some type of peach dish, and Kenya's making all these sex noises, and she's telling me, I like my peach really juicy, and she and she's doing all this moaning shit, and I'm like, bitch, are y'all having sex or y'all cooking a dish? You know, you can't tell me that Kenya and Claudia Jordan have not slept together. And I said this from day one when she slapped her ass in that store, and when Claudia climbed up on that bed the way Kenya was watching her, and then she's always saying little comments about her little pussy cat, and you know, you can't be scared of no pussy. They're always making these little comments. If you go back and watch some of their scenes, I feel like they've either slept together or they engaged in some type of threesomes together. When I had said that on Twitter, somebody did splash some tea in my lap, but I'm not even gonna go ahead and repeat that tea right now until there's proof. I'm not gonna go ahead and repeat it, but I feel like the way that they act towards each other, they kind of act overtly sexual. I'm not knocking them. They're both beautiful women. They're both sexy, but I just feel like they've slept together before. You know what I'm saying? That's just the vibe that I get every time I see them together in a scene. It's always super sexual. They're always making these little weird comments. So I give both of them the side eye. They've hooked up once or twice. Moving on to the next scene. In the next scene, we have Cynthia, Peter, Todd, and Kandi. They're all meeting for dinner, and you can still tell that there's a lot of tension. Basically, Todd is letting everything be told, and she's saying that, you know, he wants Kandi to meet up with his mom because she's tired of how Mama Joyce is treating his family, how Mama Joyce talks crazy, and Kandi makes excuses for her. And Kandi's like, well, that's my mama. She's old. You know, that's just what happens. And Todd is like, no, it's not cool. It's not an excuse. Who cares if she's old? And then Peter kind of starts taking up for Mama Joyce. Like, well, yeah, you know, that's kind of Mama Joyce's attitude. That's just kind of how she acts. And I'm like, why are people making excuses for this woman like she's not a grown woman? Like, it's not okay. So then they talk about how the whole situation went down with Cynthia and how her mom and her sisters, you know, treated Peter some type of way. They didn't like Peter. And Cynthia says that when they get into it, Peter brings that back up. So I just feel like whatever their issues are in these relationships with these four people, they need to address and get the elephant out the room before all four of these people end up in divorce court. Moving on to the next scene. So the next scene is the big day. Cynthia's getting ready to rip the runway. Crazy ass Kenya is there. She flew into New York to see her. And then Leon was there. When I tell y'all, Leon, aka Brother Apshu Benjamin, his ass was looking good as hell during New York Fashion Week. I was like, damn, Cynthia, why didn't y'all work out? Because Leon is fine. He's been fine ever since he played in The Woman of Brewster's Place. How you doing? So anyway, so they're all there and they're waiting for Cynthia to rip the runway. So Cynthia comes down in the black dress and she's walking. And I'm like, okay, you know, I give her a 5 out of 10 stars for that walk. So now I just know she's about to kill it because a dude told her and reiterated to her, you need to walk fast. You need to kill it. You're closing the show. Cynthia comes out and she literally looks like a robot. She's just all stiff and, you know, she just looked crazy as hell. And I'm like, did you miss the memo? He told you to walk fast. Why are you walking super slow and super stiff? And then she had the nerve to be super boosting her confessional. I am Cynthia Bailey, honey. I ripped that right. I ripped it. I killed it, bitch. If you don't stop snapping, you did not kill it. That was the weakest walk I have ever seen. Cynthia used to kill that shit back in the late 80s and early 90s, but that walk that she did during New York Fashion Week was a joke. Those other younger models, they killed it. Sometimes you have to learn how to bow out gracefully because that walk was terrible. She looked gorgeous, don't get me wrong. Cynthia always looks gorgeous. That's not a hard feat for her to pull off. She looked flawless. That dress was beautiful. It fit her nicely, but that walk left a lot to be desired. Moving on to the next scene. The last and final scene, it's the big blowout with Mama Sharon, Kandi and Todd. And this scene really did bother me because I felt like, damn, this woman just died literally a week and a half ago. I felt like it was just too soon. And I really feel like this show played a part in that woman's demise. I really do. And I hope it was worth it to Todd. Like the show put a lot of strain on this woman. This lady literally went to the hospital and she died. You know, everybody thought she was going to come out. It was just unexpected and she never made it out the hospital. You know, she had a stroke from what I'm hearing. So the whole situation is just that I think a lot of this really took a toll on her. You can tell she wasn't in the best of health. And she's basically letting Kandi know what she feels. And she's like, you know, your mama is not cool. You know, I don't respect her for saying that about me. She said that I was a hoe. And you sat there and you lied to Todd and basically made it seem like it was okay. When Todd asked you, you know, she's calling my dad a pimp. What is she saying about my mama? And you was like, well, I don't know. And truth be told, she called my mother, you know, truth be told, she called me a prostitute. And that's not cool, Kandi. And I've always been a fan of Kandi because I respect her business sense. I respect the fact that she's about her money. But I will say this, that scene really made me dislike Kandi. It showed me how much of Mama Joyce is in Kandi. She's very defiant. And I find it funny that Kandi could get so mad about them talking about her mother. But yet and still she can sit there and watch her mother talk about her fiance at the time's mother and think it's funny. And I felt like Kandi almost gets off on starting shit. Because my thing is she could have just not said anything to Todd and let him see it on camera like the rest of us. But she ran back to Todd telling Todd everything negative that Mama Joyce said about him. Almost like she wants to tell Todd what she's thinking, but being that she can't say it, she's letting those words come through Mama Joyce. You know, something's not right with that whole dynamic there. The fact that she's so willing to defend her mother's actions and make excuses for her mom. Miss Sharon says she's not scared. She got backup too. She's like, I ain't never scared. I got backup. Yeah, they got the old lady gang. I got peoples too. And the whole time Candy's just rolling her eyes. She's mumbling under her breath. She's being really dismissive of Mama Sharon's feelings. You can tell Sharon is very hurt. Sharon is very hurt by the fact that Mama Joyless, that's what I'm going to start calling this bride Mama Joyce. Instead of Mama Joyce, we're going to start calling her Mama Joyless, okay? She's very hurt that Mama Joyless would have the nerve to just say those things about her and blatantly lie. You know, and Todd is like, you know, it's not cool, Kandi. You made too many excuses for your mom. And Candy's just straight up just getting an attitude, getting mad about the whole situation. And I definitely feel like she needs to get this under control. She needs to decide what's more important, her marriage and her relationship with Todd, or making excuses for her mom, because I fear that she's going to end up ruining that relationship with Todd, because especially Todd is going to look back at this and see how stressed his mother was, how sick his mother was, and see that, you know, Kandi and her mom played a big role in her health and the demise of her health, and that's going to start to affect him. Now, I expected better from Kandi. Even before she went to meet with Mama Sharon, you can tell she had an attitude. She was rolling her eyes, smacking her lips, you know, talking a lot of crap in her confessional, and it's like, why are you mad at Sharon? Sharon didn't do anything to you. She's telling you about your mother and expecting better of you, your mom, and everybody else. You know what I'm saying? She's telling you how she feels, but Kandi wants to just dismiss her feelings, and that ending episode really bothered me. I just didn't like that at all. I just hope that Mama Sharon rests in peace. That situation was just really, really sad to me. So anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. What do you guys think about the blow up between Kandi, Mama Sharon, and Todd? What do you think about Cynthia Bailey's walk? And then how do you feel about Cynthia and Nene making up? Are you buying it? Do you think that they were being sincere? Or do you feel like Nene's full of shit for trying to basically downplay her role? Anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. And if you're not following me, I am at LovelyT on Twitter. And I'm LovelyT2002 on Instagram. And I do live tweet during the broadcast of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So make sure that you join me on Sunday evenings. So go ahead and leave a comment. All right. Deuces.